Hello, Savannah. Hello, Savannah. And hello, Mr. Joe Huffman. Fresh off of your canvassing here today. Thank you so much for joining me on
Thank
this
you.
Monday, on our first federal holiday for Juneteenth. We are so happy that you saw fit to stop by and say hello and talk to our listening audience and the voters just one more time. In addition to this being a federal holiday today, we have more breaking news in that tomorrow is election day for the runoffs. We have some important races here locally as well as statewide and on the federal level. But you are here to talk about a local race. And what is that race for, sir?
Good evening, Kesha. Thank you so much for having me. The race is for Chatham County Recorder's Court. It's Recorder's Court is the traffic court of City of Savannah and Chatham County. It's the gateway to the courthouse. It deals with all traffic issues, criminal matters only. And so there's a runoff tomorrow between myself and another candidate.
Okay, so tell me, it's been a long road. It's been a long road. I know you would have wanted to take the victory on election night on the first wave, but you have stayed the course and you've made it almost to the end. Tell us some of the highlights of your path to victory, if you will.
So I'll start with the most recent activity. Canvassing today in Windsor Forest, I actually got a chance to knock on the door of two houses I grew up in. And, my mom being a single mother on a teacher's, public school teacher salary, three boys, we moved around. And two of the houses we lived in were in the Windsor Forest neighborhood. And I had a chance to, go up to those houses where I used to sleep, play, and grow, and to meet the new residents and just see where I've come from to then show back up. It had a big impact on me. So that probably is one of the biggest highlights is, I used to be a kid running the streets, then a cop patrolling the streets, and now I'm a candidate walking the streets. And so that was a huge highlight. The other highlight has just been all of the people I've met in this great community. I thought I'd met a lot of people sitting as a judge already, being an attorney and being a police officer, but there's so many more people that I hadn't yet met, still haven't met. And it's been tremendous to engage, to educate, to listen, and to be inspired about what can be done to provide a judge who is fair, who treats everyone equally, and who holds people accountable when there needs to be accountability. Two things can be true. You can treat people with dignity and respect and make sure that there is accountability for actions. One doesn't preclude the other. And so a highlight is being able to put that message out there and see that it's received well and not seen as something not desired. There is a desire in our community that we have safe streets, that we have an equal and fair and just system, and that there be accountability. We teach our children to be accountable. We as adults should lead by example and trust that when held accountable, it's appropriate. So those are some of the highlights, just being able to see where I've come from, being able to meet so many people, and then being able to hear that the message I carry and hope that we should all strive for, which is a fair and equal justice system, is received well. Surprise, surprise.
Right. With regard to accountability in our justice system, I know many people who are listening, they've heard you before, and by now and before now, they knew what Recorder's Court was or is. But for the sake of those who don't, tell us a little bit about Recorder's Court and why this particular office.
So Recorder's Court, again, so all traffic cases in the city of Savannah and unincorporated Chatham, so speeding, license issues, failing to maintain your lane, DUIs. So it handles all of those cases, handles all of the city ordinance violations. It can handle all misdemeanor cases, and then preliminarily it can deal with felony matters, all criminal based. There is no civil law. There's no malpractice. There's no lawsuits. It's all criminal based. Basically, if you have to pay a fine or could go to jail, Recorder's Court deals with it at some level.
So let's
And
let's
so,
talk about
okay.
the fines and going to jail. One of the hot topics for our Recorder's Court and for our local Metropolitan Police Department are the ordinances related to homelessness and individuals who are in violation with regard to panhandling and other episodes that come along with our homeless population, particularly those who struggle with mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and chronic homelessness. What is it that you have seen in Recorder's Court that gives you an idea of just how serious our homelessness problem is? And is it a policing and criminal justice issue, or do you feel like it's more of a community oriented issue?
So homelessness, drug addiction, all of those matters, there's some level of involvement needed for and from the justice system because it's not isolated, right? It's just not the issue of being homeless in and of itself is not a crime. But if someone who happens to be homeless is alleged to have committed an act would be a violation of the law, that's when the justice system gets involved, either police officers or the court system. There can be interaction, there can be collaboration between the court system in those scenarios and members of the community, such as outreach programs, men's residential, other programs we have, but there needs to be a development of additional services. I know there was a new mental health facility off of Duran near Skidaway that was just just opened in a couple of years ago, about a year or two ago. There
Mm-hmm.
can and needs to be collaboration with community members and members in the police department and in law enforcement, as well as the court system, for those cases that someone has been alleged to have committed a crime, which can offset the need for jail and unnecessary fines, which don't necessarily every time get to the root of the problem. Now, for individuals who aren't involved in the criminal justice system, that's good, but there still needs to be some level of collaboration on the part of community members and law enforcement, even though there's been no alleged crime, because law enforcement's in the community, right? They're on the streets responding to calls for service. They drive around. Each officer has a beat. They should know the individuals in their beats. I did when I was on the police department. I knew who lived in my beat, and they would see me and I would see them and we'd interact. And when someone new would come along, I would be able to learn who that person was and what they were about. So police officers don't always have to be involved in people's lives for the purpose of arresting them, right? There could be other community oriented reasons for being involved, which doesn't mean that police officers don't respond to 911 calls and don't
Right.
enforce the law. It just means that they can do more because, quite honestly, they end up doing more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, police officers are called to a scene and there's been no crime, and yet they're there and there's a situation they have to deal with. And sometimes those involve situations of individuals through a mental health break, right? So that's why they have a lot of training that goes into officers on how to deal with individuals going through episodes. Maybe jail is just because they're acting in a manner that may be demonstrative. Jail's not the answer. What else is going on that maybe they can be what's called 1013, or maybe there's some other resources available. So to go to your question, there needs to be a collaboration between the multiple entities in our community members, law enforcement, community leaders, and the justice system, because we all don't live in vacuums. We all don't live in a silo. We all live in this community.
Right. And that's a unique experience you bring to the bench. There aren't many judges who have actually had the experience of that field work and that you were a police officer. So that's quite interesting. So you shared with us some of the highlights of the campaign. What have been some of the lows, and what are you most interested in getting past and getting on with your life?
Well, my son this morning said, "I hope you do well tomorrow, Dad, because that means you can stop coming home so late." I'm like, ouch.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's been the biggest low, is just being away from my family, because we all
Mm-hmm.
say, "I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing this for my family," and yet
Yeah,
I feel like I'm not there for my family, and that
right.
is depressing. And so
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow brings, regardless of the outcome, tomorrow brings the promise of not being home so late for my little dude. And, there's some other petty things that I've experienced in this campaign that don't justify even mentioning. I try to be the adult in the room, and I try to make sure I have listening ears rather than a talking mouth. And that's served me well in this campaign. It's quite honestly, it served me well as a judge, because sometimes when you use your ears and listen, you hear things. And so I might not like all the things I hear, but I make sure I don't mute individuals, because everybody has a voice and they're all worth being heard. And so some of the lows are just the things that I've heard that are probably inappropriate, but the biggest low has been time away from the family. So what I can learn in moving on with my life is that there are kids waiting for me to get back to work with them. And that's the plan.
Well, listen, I definitely understand both the highs and the lows of campaigning, and I too can certainly attest to the fact that the good certainly outweigh the bad, particularly when you are looking at the number of people you come in contact with. In addition to seeing the level and the amount of need in our community, and recognizing that you have the skill set, the ability, and the knowledge to help meet those needs, I think that's more encouraging than somebody stealing our signs or breaking their window. Yeah, I had somebody break my window out, or bad mouthing you in ways that are just simply not true. But recognize and understand the saying that goes, the race is not given to the swift, but to he who endures to the end. And so, my friend, we're so happy you made it to the end. I know you have taken some unwarranted pushback and relentless critique and criticism just because you came on my show and wanted people to hear your voice and know your name and your face. But for that, we are grateful that you have that many more listeners and viewers who will know more about you and your platform, and recognize that you are your own man, and that it does not matter who or what anyone else says you are. Just know that that is none of your business. And your business is on the citizens of Chatham County. And we're happy to see that you have stayed the course. You did not give up, give out, or give in, but you are here. And so before you go and before my next guests come in, I want you to tell us, how can we vote tomorrow? Where can we, what time, and all that good stuff. I know there was some confusion during the last election. People's precincts had changed. Their names were not on the rolls or the roster. Some machines were down. And so we're hopeful that people will be motivated and not discouraged, but come back out, check your voter card, know where your precinct is. But in addition, I think the polls open at 7 in the morning, Mr. Huffman.
Yes, ma'am. I believe they do open at 7, yes.
Okay, so 7 in the morning, Tuesday, tomorrow, election day, runoff. Very
Yes.
important elections happening on our local level, state level, and federal level. Locally, we have the Recorder's Court, we have 5th District School Board, we have statewide District
Insurance
1,
Commissioner.
Insurance Commissioner, District 163 or 165, I can't remember, but I think it's Clinton Young and Derek Mallow in that race. And then we have for Congress, Joyce Griggs. So you guys go out and vote. Make us proud. Let's log some record numbers and be ready to represent one more time Chatham County strong. Thank you so much, Judge Huffman. Best wishes to you. And I pray that you'll be coming back with a victory thank you speech.
I hope so too. You can Google my voter page, Chatham County. You plug in the info. That'll tell you where your precinct is. Tomorrow, starting at 7, vote. HuffmanForJudge.com. Ms. Kesha, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come back on. Just vote. Don't lose your voice. You got to vote.
Well, thank you for being the first example of showing us that you are a man's man and you are your own man and you are Chatham County strong, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. and blue and white Savannah High School. Yes, of course.
That's
Yes.
right, all the way. Blue Jackets. No white and
Yes.
blue, the original Blue
No.
Jackets. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
sir, for that reminder. And I hope you are listening, Dr. Jamal Amir Toure. Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. Bye. Bye.
Bye, sir. Hello, 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 Savannah. Listen, I want to now introduce and welcome our candidate for Secretary of State, potentially the first African American female the first female. What? Females rule. Yes, we do. This is the day of female. Mrs. D. Hawkins Hagler. Dawkins Hagler, I always say Hawkins. We want to welcome you once again to the show. And we want to also acknowledge that you are a nominee for a Nobel Prize. And so we're just happy to be able to rub shoulders with you. We were happy that you graced our presence here in Savannah, Georgia, more than a couple of times. So that lets us know how serious you are about the Chatham County vote. More recently, you came to town and you crisscrossed the state, made your way back here to Savannah, and met some great people at our Longshoreman Hall, some of our seniors and other.
Oh, what happened? Is that my phone?
No, it's me. It's me.
Okay.
But I want to try to get through this interview with you without any more interruptions, I hope. But listen, you made it in a tight field of a whole bunch of people, and you're here. You're here, and you are on the precipice of making history. So tell us about what you want us to do and how you want us to do it, and what you're looking forward to. And I know you have an engagement like in 10 minutes. So go for it. Just let us know what you want us to hear.
Yes. And engagement in minutes, but I'll work that out. But thank you so much, Ottawa, for allowing me to join you all tonight. Hello, Savannah. Love Savannah. I'm coming down to meeting with the people in Savannah. And so you mentioned quite a bit in the introduction. I am excited for this race because I'm the most qualified person in the race. I have served 9 years in the Georgia Assembly, always in a position. I worked in various.
You're going in and out a little bit, and I'm trying to figure out if you're too far away or.
Can you hear me now? Can you
I
hear
can.
me?
And you mentioned that I said something at the top of the show. Let's start from there.
Yes. So I was saying at the top of the show a little bit about coming back and forth to Savannah. I love coming to Savannah, seeing the people in Savannah. And I hope you all can hear me clearly because my internet is doing something strange today. And so I served 9 years in the Georgia Assembly, always served positions in all walks of life. Whether it was in corporate, American profit, as well as my own business. So I have the to handle the secretary with all five. And if elected, the first elected Black Secretary of State Georgia, but across the country. Every other Secretary of State appointed and not elected.
Okay, you're going in and out a little bit. I got that, but I want everybody else to hear it.
Which part? Which part? The part that if elected, I would be the first Black elected Secretary of State in the country. Every other Black
in the entire country.
Yes, every other Black state has been appointed to this point, but we've never had one elected in the country. This is why this is important for us to get out. Just because I am Black, but the qualified candidate is great. So I don't want anyone to miss most qualified experience, work experience, the most legislative experience, just the most nonprofit experience, what is across the board, most education across the board. I am an experienced candidate and ready to work on day one.
Right, and you know diversity is important, and what we don't want people to get misunderstood is that when we talk about the first African American, this or that, I want folks to recognize that I don't particularly get all that excited about it, but I do know that we're living in a time, in a space and place in our culture where recognition of those facts are important because we are in fewer and fewer of the positions of leadership in our communities. And so, with that stated, as you become the first elected African American female Secretary of State, what are some of the diversity issues or experiences that you bring to the table that demonstrates that while this is my person, this is my spirit, this is my heart, and that you have demonstrated in your previous work that you have a heart for all Georgians?
Yes, and I do. It's very important when you serve in positions of leadership that you bring everyone to the table, all issues to the table, and that's one of the things that's very unique. I want to make sure that all voices are heard, whether you are in North Georgia, South Georgia, Middle Georgia, rural, urban, suburban, make sure old, young, in between, your messages are resonating and the things that you need to get done happening in the Georgia Secretary. This is why experience matters. Background in human resources allows me to be able to make sure Georgia is a customer service oriented office, so that when people are trying to get their corporate, whether they're trying to get their professional license, whether they're trying to get information for their nonprofit charity, they will have one stop shop where it's easy to be able to navigate the website and call the office and get the kind of service that you need. So I'm excited about that. So now I would hate to leave you all, Alderman, but I have 8 o'clock. I'm going to jump on in. For Savannah, I need some help and support tomorrow. D. Dawkins, for Secretary of State. If you want to go to the website, it's www.dforgeorgia.com. dforgeorgia.com on all websites. And I hope you can hear that clearly.
Well, what you can do is we'll put it in the chat for everyone, just in case they didn't. But listen, as I stated, when you came to Savannah, Georgia, you're the underdog in this race, but we're the top dog in this state. So we got your back here in Chatham County, ma'am. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have our next guest coming in here. We are so excited. We're so excited here. Give me a minute, Miss Marilyn. I want to make sure that I get this out to everyone. Y'all, I am coming off of a phenomenal weekend. I am so excited that God has purposed and blessed me to be able to experience and witness our first federal holiday for Juneteenth. This is huge. Yes. This is huge. This is huge. And I'm so excited about it. And we have a handful of our organizers who are lined up to talk to you tonight about what their experiences were in planning, but more importantly, what the history of these events have been in our community and what the future will be for them. And with us tonight, we have the incomparable, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Miss Marilyn Jackson and Mr. Ivan Cohen, of Daughters of Mary Magdalene. They have been hosting and presenting to Savannah Juneteenth for over 20 years. And so while there are some who may be just coming into the knowledge and just enjoying the celebrations that are taking place across the coastal empire, this woman and her group have been at it for a mighty long time. And she is just now seeing the fruit of her labor come to pass, as she has petitioned for local government to engage and participate and engage in making sure that this event became and was widespread far before a holiday was ever thought of. They went about with the spirit of just spreading the word of culture and helping to preserve our history and our past. And so with that, Ms. Jackson, I am happy to be sitting on a city council where through your group and with your petition, we encourage our city manager to sit and speak with you And I understand that it was the first time that a person at that level within our local government actually sat and had a tangible conversation that actually resulted in
Right.
something that was substantial. Um, it wasn't all that we wanted, but we we aimed high and we didn't come short, I should say.
Yeah.
But we know that we have to start somewhere, and we're so grateful. I want to say to Mr. J. Melder, I
Yeah.
am not above giving credit where credit is due. He listened and was open where this particular issue is concerned. And so we
Mhm.
want to thank him and his staff for all of their hard work and efforts. But I want to stop talking now, Miss Marilyn. And
Oh,
first, I want you to tell me about who are the daughters of Mary Magdalene, and then tell us about the Juneteenth celebrations this year.
yes. Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman. You said so much. Hey, you said it all for me, really.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. The Daughters of Mary Magdalene is me. I'm the chairperson. Mr. Ivan is the secretary. Miss Beverly Santos, basically, she is our advisor, senior advisor. And then Mrs. Bridget Gordon is our grant writer, and Mr. Bobby Simpson, the coordinator, and Mr. Joe Robinson and Stephanie Collier. And we have affiliated members, which is Mrs. Sandra Graves and Vicky Blackshare and Gloria Powers.
Okay, and what is the purpose of the organization?
Well, basically, when we first started out, our purpose basically was to get Black history into the school system. And basically, it still is our purpose. But then we realized that Juneteenth was never taught to a lot of our people. And a lot of children did not know anything about Juneteenth. So we got with a sister named Sister Kay Muhammad and her brother Prince Muhammad. And we started studying Juneteenth at his bookstore called Respect for Life Bookstore. And it was so successful then I decided to take it away from the bookstore and bring it out to the people, bring it to the
You
park.
decided to
So
take it away, Miss Jackson. You took it
yeah,
away.
some of that lesson, let's take it from the bookstore and let's bring it to the public. Because I felt like Juneteenth is just so important that more people need to know about it and hear about it and actually do their own research about Juneteenth. So let me tell you this. Now, we started Juneteenth, nobody really knew what we was talking about. So a lot of
Mhm.
people thought Juneteenth was like a teenager activity because it got teen into it. So we
Right.
had to educate them about about our history. What is Juneteenth? What happened during that period? Who was the Black men that actually fought for our history? Now I know a lot of people like to give credit to General Gordon Granger, but General Gordon Granger was not the first person to read the General Order. But
Mhm.
everybody likes to talk about him and say that he is the first person that did this and that. But it was Black men that served in both wars, which was the Confederate and the Union War. And the Black soldiers was the one who went down to Galveston, Texas first on June 17th. And they actually read the General Order on June 17th.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
so basically, think about this. Didn't President Biden declare Juneteenth a federal holiday on what day? June what? June
It was June
17th. June 17th of last
of
year.
2021.
Yes, right. So just think about the significance of that. Because in actuality, Black men is the one that rode down to Galveston, Texas, and read the General Order first before Granger got down there. Granger got down there on the 19th of June. But Black soldiers got down there on the 17th of June. And then they were the one to run the governor, which was Pennington Murrow. They ran the governor, Pennington Murrow, out of town. So when Granger got there to read the general order, it was not a governor present. So the lieutenant governor had to be the one accept the general order, not the governor, because Black soldiers ran him out of town, ran him actually to Mexico. But
And
we
when we
don't know.
talk
See, we don't know that part of the history.
And that's
So
why it's so important to, we are living in a day and time where this whole notion and question of critical race theory, and we all know that
mhm,
that's a way to backdoor
mhm,
the system's way into foregoing educating our youth where these pieces are concerned. My children, as well as myself, learned about Juneteenth through community events. It was not
mhm.
through
The
formal
school
education.
system.
And we look at what's happening and what happened in Texas with regard
Mhm,
to this holiday and this dynamic, but we
mhm,
look at right here in Savannah, Georgia, the
mhm,
history of our people, the history of our ancestry that has taken
mhm.
place from the West Side corridors to River Street, with regard to the atrocities that happened to our people,
Oh
like the weeping
yes.
time, to
Mhm.
all of those elements that were a part of the Lazaretto Creek
Oh
with regard to
yes.
the quarantine. And so we see time and time again, there are so many parts
Mm,
of our history account that we don't know as adults and that our children don't know because
mhm,
we're not taking the time as Georgians
mhm.
leadership. We're just not doing what's necessary to embrace that
It's
culture. And in embracing the culture, it's not to make anyone feel bad or it's not to slight
exactly,
anyone,
exactly.
but it's essentially for us not to
It's really
relive
the
it.
truth. We're only telling the truth about our history. And a
Right.
lot of
Well,
people
it's
don't
American
realize
history.
it's American history. And a lot of people don't realize too. On 38th Street Park, right around the corner, is a cemetery called Laurel Grove Cemetery that used to be a plantation. So Largo Cemetery was a plantation also where they sold our people and they beat our people. And there's a tree down there in Largo Cemetery called the whipping tree. So you can go down there and it still has the lashes inside of the tree that came from the whip. It's
Wow.
still
Well,
down there, yes. And those are that's our history that we don't even know anything about, you know?
Well, I've taken
So
time to sit at the feet of Dr. Jamal Touré, Sister
yes,
Pat Guns,
mhm.
Vonette Good.
Great
There's
historians.
so many local historians, Dr. Lillian
Mhm.
Grant Baptiste.
Oh
And I want
yes.
to encourage you, Mr. Johnny Brown. There's
Mhm.
so many credentialed and
Mhm.
knowledgeable individuals here in our community. You can Google any of those names
Mhm.
or just put in historical African American tours into um, your computer, and it will yield opportunities for you to take tours with these individuals. It is imperative that young people, particularly those
Mhm.
who are vulnerable in our community, because I think a lot of what they get into is as a result of helplessness and hopelessness.
Yes,
But when you
exactly.
have the opportunity to come out to 38th Street Park, when you have the opportunity to go wade
Oh.
in the water at Tybee, when you have the opportunity to connect with the individuals who know the history and listen to the songs, there are so
Mhm.
many elements to your event, Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
And I have Mr. Ivan Cohen on the phone. He was having a little difficulty
Oh,
on the phone.
okay.
But Mr. Cohen, can you hear us, sir? Mr. Cohen? Okay, I don't know if he can hear me, but what I wanted to say was, we you
Uh,
all had so many elements.
oh,
Okay,
there
what
you
did you
go.
want to
That's
add?
him.
What did you want to contribute, sir?
Well, what I wanted to contribute is to say that regarding what you just spoke of, it'd be good if these schools, if they're doing field trips, to
Mhm.
latch on to these different tour groups, like what you expounded on.
Exactly.
And I think they can get some insight there until we can have somebody publish the history books and get it right.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I'm always bothered by the fact that we're always inclusive. See, it's automatically with us. We're inclusive. With the other folks, we're like it's an afterthought. We say, but what about those over there? We say, oh yeah, now you're right.
Mhm.
But it's got to get to a time where you know it's not intended that way, but sometimes it comes across like a disclaimer. And we have no reason to issue our disclaimer to apologize for being who we are.
Right.
That's right.
Well, I think you all did you had so many elements that were a part of your event on 30th Street Park. One of the elements was actually inclusion. When you embraced the Hispanic community, they had some performers out. You continuously give awards to individuals every year. Do you want to talk about some of those awards you all gave out this year?
Yeah, I would like to say this too.
Like, where do we begin?
Well, just
Yeah, I
give me
know.
a few highlights, and I'll take.
One standout is Mrs. Wilhelmina Atkinson Dean.
Yeah.
She was my instructor on the Upward Bound program, and I've known her, of her for a number of years. Matter of fact, out of Savannah State, going back in about 68, back that far. So it was good and fitting that she was recognized. And Deacon George Stewart, his daughter and I,
Oh yes,
we were classmates at St. Pius High School.
Right.
So,
that's right.
I'm glad he was able to get his props and recognition and his roses while he was still here.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we
can't forget about Miss Dorothy Johnson.
Yes.
She was the lady that actually coined the perm dark and lovely.
Oh wow!
Wasn't that was amazing to me?
Wow.
And she died before she could get her just due.
Right. And
yes.
And bless God, there was another gentleman you were going to
Mr. Enos Garvin. He died on the day that we was going to give him his proclamation. Yes.
Yeah, we're so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we were.
And we also want to say again that we're grateful to the city of Savannah for their sponsorship of the event. But another element was that the city staff actually worked in conjunction with Pepsi. And so you had Pepsi as a sponsor this year as well.
Exactly.
And
they want a partnership with us for next year too. Thanks to Mr. Ledbetter. Mr. Ledbetter, yeah, he's the one that connected us together. So shout out to Mr. Ledbetter. But I would like to say this to you, Miss Gibson Carter. Now, I know you're being modest and all this kind of stuff, but we would not have gotten this funding. I'm serious. If it was not for you and your courageousness and your tenacity, you kept on and kept on and kept on going until they gave us that money for Juneteenth Festival. And we never, all these 20 years, we have been asking this city council, all the way from I'm gonna name the people now, all the way from Dr. Johnson, Otis Johnson, all the way from Mayor, Dr. Johnson, and Edna Jackson, and Van Johnson right now. We've been not even asking, we actually was begging them for funding. And the only person that ever took us serious was our former city manager, which was Rochelle Tony. But they got rid of her so fast, she wasn't able to give us the funding, but she was going to give us $30,000. And then next year, they had no fighter. So the next person that came on board was you. And see, they couldn't do anything with you, because you was not going quietly. See, you know what I'm saying? You did not go quietly. But the people that made Rochelle Tony be quiet was Southall Brown. Then they brought in the cavalry on her, to shut up and all that. But the cavalry can't shut you up. You know what I'm saying? You keep on going. So the cavalry can't do nothing with you, But you kept on going until we got the funding. And if it wasn't for you, really, now Saturday would not have ever happened. And that's the truth.
Well, we bless God and we receive that humbly.
Yes.
But I want to say that advocating for this is not or was not as hard as some of the other things that I advocate for on council that have not come to pass. But again, I'm grateful that Mr. Melder just had an open door and an open ear. And
Yes.
while we did not get everything that you all deserve for the event, we're happy
Mhm.
that we were
We
able
got to
to
start. That's right.
get a start.
And we got to give a
But
shout out to Daphne Williams too. The
yes,
chief of staff, Daphne.
yes,
Yes,
the
she
city
did
management staff
wonderful.
works very, very
Mhm.
hard for Savannah.
Mhm.
But this was important to me because we see the implications of slavery as we are
Right.
celebrating Juneteenth and overcoming what
Mhm.
is said to have been slavery. We know that we are still living slave like implications in our city today. As
Mhm.
well as in the nation, but we are
Mhm.
responsible for this part of the world. And so, as these behaviors are perpetuated, it is really and truly, Miss Jackson and Mr. Cohen, it is only because of your tenacity and your
Mhm.
advocacy and your courage for picking up the phone, for sending the emails, and
Mhm.
making sure that you're connecting with politicians and being persistent.
Right.
And so we want to encourage all citizens who have interest in
Mhm.
issues and anything related to you being a happy, plugged in, productive Savannian.
Right.
We want you to make sure that you are utilizing your ability as a citizen of this city to hold us accountable. And so I regret that that accountability was not reciprocated
Yes.
with
Yes.
others.
Yes.
But we, as your Alderwoman at Large for Post 1 of the City of Savannah, we will continue to advocate on your behalf and to
Mhm.
make certain that your 20-year investment in bringing
Mm.
this celebration to the coastal empire is not in vain. And we are
Yes.
encouraged that as we go forth, it will grow, it will grow, it will grow. And more people will know about the history of Juneteenth as they
Thank you.
celebrate the day off, as they celebrate
Yes.
the day off and relish in their freedoms. Well, listen, I have Mr. Tom Hutcherson with us here today, and he has taken the reign on the other end of our county and is hosting it. You know, last year, Miss Jackson, Mr. Tom Hutcherson, council member for
Oh,
Pooler, Georgia. We're so grateful to see you, sir, today. And you know, I've had a really hard time finding a picture of you dressed down, and you come on dressed down tonight. So it's encouraging. Because you know, Miss
It's still
Jackson, this
me.
is one of the he's one of the guys who you would call a heavy dude. he's a he's a
oh,
he's a heavy dude. He's a
a
heavy
heavy
dude.
dude.
He packs a punch. Let me tell you.
Okay.
But
All
we
right.
I think
appreciate
that means you're mentally heavy, brother.
Uh,
yes, mentally
I
heavy.
hope I hope that's what that means.
Yeah. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I did. I think I emailed him and invited him to the parade. Didn't I, Mr. Hutchison?
I think I did get that, and
Yeah.
I was just
Because
tied
I
up.
was trying to include everybody, Mayor Gibson.
We
I was
receive it. We
trying to
receive
include,
it.
yeah.
Well, well, listen. What we wanted to do was to encourage you all to
Yeah.
coordinate the events. So because
Mhm.
last year I was all over the place, and every year you get older, so I just
That's
couldn't do
right.
it this year.
Yes.
But I
Oh no,
had my
you
schedule mixed up, Mr. Hutchison, because if I knew that, for whatever reason, I was thinking that Pooler's Juneteenth was also on Saturday, but yours, in fact, was on Sunday. And I understand that this quite possibly was one of the largest events to take place in Pooler, but we do know that this was the first Juneteenth in Pooler.
Oh,
yeah, we made history.
congratulations.
We made history as the first Juneteenth celebration, and the outcome was fantastic. Yeah, I put together. Yeah, I had attended a number of Juneteenth events over the last several years.
Hmm.
And when our city council voted last year that Juneteenth would be a city holiday, I said, well, we're going to take this further. So I put together a committee. Most of the folks live in Pooler, and they bought in to what I was trying to do. And there's an old adage that if you want to get something done, you give it to a busy person. So, so I called up 18 of my friends that I knew that were busy and said,
Wow.
let's do this. And the concept is I wanted to stress that this is an American holiday, not just for African Americans. It's certainly an important holiday for us, but this is an American holiday because this signifies the day that we got rid of a very dark stain in American history. So, I want people to. I wanted people to come away certainly feeling joyous about what we had accomplished, but also understanding the importance of the day.
Mm.
And this is something that hasn't been taught in schools, and we need to teach our young people what has happened,
Mm.
and certainly we learn from the past to prepare for the future. There are people who don't want to tell the truth. We're all about telling the truth and making it known. But I was very, very pleased with the outcome.
Mm.
We had a very large celebration, and we had people to come and talk about Juneteenth and what it meant to them. So Dr. Otis Johnson came out. Um, Former Mayor Edna Jackson, she came out, and they spoke in terms of why we should all celebrate Juneteenth. One of the more interesting parts of the celebration is that we had George Seabrooks, whose family traces back to the 1800s. And before there was Pooler, there was Seabrooks Village or Seabrooks Town. And so he talked about growing up in and around Pooler. And that was some very, very interesting facts. And again, these are things that are not taught in school, and our young people need to know that. So I was very happy that there were quite a few children that were there, and many of them paid attention to what was going on.
Great.
And that's really important. We know that Pooler now, second to Port Wentworth, is one of the fastest growing cities in Georgia. But I
Yeah,
would say that Pooler, among many cities in Georgia, you all probably have the most, or I should say, the biggest example of unity in community. And I see that you and your members are working hard to achieve some equity in
yeah,
some of your policy initiatives on council. And so we're proud of you for that reason. We know that a lot of that unity is as a result of our housing crises here in Savannah, and
yeah,
that a lot of people are being forced out of our community into yours. And right now,
Mm.
there aren't, I can't, of 5 people I know, at least 3 of them live in Pooler, Port Wentworth, Bloomingdale, uh, Thunderbolt, Garden City, outside of Savannah, just because of the housing market. And so,
right.
what are some of the things as you go forth in the spirit of Juneteenth, recognizing that what we are working toward is embracing culture and preserving history.
Yeah,
What is it and how is it that you go about doing that in your work on council? I know hosting an event like this certainly is, but
it's a
what are
big.
you most looking forward to as you continue?
Well, this is a big start, a beginning for us. One of the things that I had always hoped for when I decided to run was that, and I'm the first African American to serve on Pooler Council, that
Mm.
I would become a door opener, that there would be more African Americans who would certainly follow me, uh, and uh, and I think that will happen. But I'm going to continue to lift up uh, Black voices in Pooler neighborhood. We represent about 30% of the population, which is significant growth over the past 10, 15 years. And we want to make sure that or I want to make sure that our concerns are heard, that we have a voice, that we have a seat at the table. You know what they say: if you don't have a seat at the table, you have to watch out because you may be part of the menu. And
Right.
so we don't want to be part of the menu. So we're, as far as the ordinance, my committee is concerned, we created a 501c3, and so we're going to continue to put on and sponsor different programs. We're already looking at doing something during Black History Month. So we don't want to be a one and done. We're going to continue to lift voices and be heard.
Well, I'm so happy to have you on this part of the county representing and doing this type of work that will unify and bring our communities together. As I stated to Ms. Jackson, I see she bumped off a little bit there. We see in our community the implications of slavery every day in failed policies or either policies that are not presented, introduced, and adopted. And it is unfortunate, Councilman Hutcherson, that here in our community in Savannah, a lot of this is happening on the watch of African American leaders. And you, as the first African American and only elected to city council, you are doing some heavy lifting. And to come out of the gate with events like this and the spirit of which you are going forth, we appreciate you. And we know that your work will not be in vain. And congratulations again on the inaugural event. And with that, I want to just say that Pat Gunn, who is a master storyteller and local historian here in the coastal region, often says that there are enough stars in the sky for all of us. And so we are so happy that from Savannah to Pooler to Tybee, we have these awesome events taking place so that we are educating and bringing into focus this event and the historical nature of what we know today as freedom and what it is to be free. And so thank you for the continuation of that important work. And as we go forth, we just hope that you as organizers, which was a part of my goal for bringing you all together tonight, Mr. Cohen, that we have some coordination because, we are not very many degrees separated. And as soon as I saw Miss Julia Pierce on Sunday, as I walked onto the beach and saw her smiling face and her just all outfitted with all that gorgeous African American queendom going on, I embraced her and said, please keep this on a Sunday, because I was just happy to be able to make that particular event. So I know it's hard to be all places at all times, but we hope that going forth, because we are in such close proximity and everybody is so excited about celebrating the newness of this holiday, it would be fitting that we all can attend at least most of them, if not all of them. At least I will try. I try anyway.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me to talk about this, and I also appreciate how difficult Savannah is in terms of the council and the struggles that seem to occur from time to time.
Yes, sir. It's all a part of it. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, I should say. Well, listen, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
I will say this for the host of this program and her two colleagues. They don't feel no ways tired.
There you go. That's old school. I understand all that.
Conscientious consistency.
Yeah.
Always the winner.
Well, I don't know what sleeping till 1 o'clock today meant, but okay. So listen, Mr. Cohen, we have joining us the goddess of it all, Miss Julia Pierce. We are so happy that she has started the Tybee MLK group organization there that pricks at the consciousness of everything African American at Tybee. and they have fully embraced Juneteenth. And on Sunday, they celebrated and hosted the 8th annual Tybee weighed in. Well, it was the Juneteenth, but they incorporated a weighed in, which was really, really, really nice. And as I was out there, I was just praying and hoping that one day more people will be able to enjoy that experience, because for me it was a spiritual experience, and it just left no one could have left there without a feeling and a sense of renewal and hope. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, y'all, is that we as a people, particularly those of us who find ourselves in vulnerable situations and crisis situations, a big part of how we respond to it, we're not successful when people are hopeless. And when we see the level of gun violence and street crime plaguing our own community by our own people, we know that a huge part of that is hopelessness, and nothing remotely close to understanding and recognizing the atrocity of of the dynamics that led up to Juneteenth. Nothing remotely about that hopelessness represent what those ancestors who are part of the weeping time went through. And so if people could only come into the knowledge, there would be more of a sense of pride and hope, and maybe in the union that we create, there'll be a little bit of help. But we are moving now to Tybee, and Ms. Julia Pierce, you combined this year the weighed-in with the Juneteenth celebration that was led by Ms. Pat Gunn. And as I stated, I just foresee this being a big part of like a whole coastal region worship experience of sorts. What was your motivation for that?
Wow. You know, we started back in 2015. In 2015, we knew we wanted to celebrate Juneteenth. And we also knew we were doing the research about the weighed-ins of the 60s. The weighed-ins of the 60s happened in 1963 on Tybee, when it was against the law for African Americans to go into the ocean. That's quite a thought to think about. You know, the whole thing, that a person would think that they own the ocean. That's a deep thought. So these young people, they came out to the ocean. They were from Savannah State University under the leadership of Dr. W.W. Law, who was in charge of the president of the NAACP at the time. One of the people that came with him was Edna Jackson, and she joined us again this year. She has been at every weighed-in that we've done for the past 8 years. Edna Jackson has been. So we're so pleased to see her. Traditionally, we had done it on the North Beach, because for Tybee, the North Beach was the actual entry point where they had little places where African Americans would go into the water, but never on Front Beach. Front Beach is where we were yesterday, right by the pier. And so that was an expansion for us, it being a federal holiday. And so we left the intimacy of North Beach and put it on Front Beach, which went well. It went well. We started that morning at 9 o'clock, and we had a nice group of people, and it went very well. We were very pleased. And you're right, it is very spiritual experience, because I felt like all that wind that we had, all of that wind, was the ancestors welcoming us, saying thank you for remembering us, thank you for the homage that you're giving to us. And it was emotional. And it doesn't matter the color, meaning we invite everyone to come, but especially our African American brothers and sisters. We should be there in order to know that we've come a long way. Yes, there's a long way we got to go, but we've come a long, long way.
And the way I see it, from Pooler to Savannah to Tybee, it's a way to make that full connection, if you will, and to really close the door on encapsulating what it's all about. Now, your mayor, Shirley Sessions, was there, and she's very supportive of the Tybee MLK organization. And we recognize that the band, was it the Tybee band?
It was the samba. Yeah, we call them the Tybee band, but they're a samba. They're the samba band. They're really the samba band of Savannah. You know, but we're clear on that because Tybee is Savannah Beach. It's the beach of Savannah. And we as a community can forget that, you know, and us forgetting that is by design. We do not have any public transportation to the ocean. Think about that.
Right.
You know, you have children who grow up in Savannah who've never been to the ocean.
Wow.
You know, and so we have an organization, part of Tybee MLK, called Grandparents Without Borders. And one of the things we do is try to be a stopgap measure for children who are living in Savannah who have not been out to the ocean. So we try to link with other organizations like the 4-H camp, like the Fresh Air Home, like TIMA, Tybee Island Academy. It's a charter school trying to get children to come out and experience the ocean. Also, we have the Marine Science Center. And so we really want to stress the fact that there's one race, the human race, and we are one community. That's why I appreciate what you do, Kesha, so much, because you are an alderman at large, and you truly make that a large thing mean something. Because we can call you, and you would certainly come out to Tybee anytime, and we're so always so happy to have you out here.
Yes, and I don't get out there enough, but every time I come, I'm kicking myself saying, why don't you slow down and make this a regular part of your life for sure? Because there is something about once you get onto that island, a lot of the pressure and the weight just seems to roll away.
Yes, it really does. And I really do think it has to do, of course, with all that water. But we know that there's a Lazaretta. You know, when you come on Tybee, you have to go across the Lazaretta. Lazaretta means quarantine. And who was quarantined? Enslaved Africans were quarantined here on Tybee Island. There's not a marker that says that. Our organization is working with that. So quarantine at the Lazaretta, it just like now was either 10 to 14 days. If the enslaved Africans lived, they were taken to Savannah, where they would be sold at City Market. If they died, and thousands of us died, their bodies were left here at the Lazaretta in unmarked graves. So we are have contact working with the federal, state, and local government to use ground penetrating radar to find the quarantine cemeteries here on the island. And I'm telling you, things started happening, and then this is good trouble. Everybody's not happy about this work. Some people feel very threatened by this work, very threatened. And so that doesn't stop us from doing the work, but we have to be realistic and know that everyone's not happy about it. And so we need the larger community, like you're at large. We need the community to understand what we're doing, to understand that we need help to get it done.
Well, I'm willing to carve out space in my world to help you in any way I can. And so however that translates to what I can do as a partner with Tybee, whether it be in conjunction with Mayor Sessions, who's a good friend of mine, or writing letters or making calls to our state level affiliates, we're here for it all for sure. I'm sure you are very knowledgeable of the work and the advocacy that we have put forth with the Weeping Time Coalition. Despite litigation with the city of Savannah, I'm still a citizen of Savannah, and I can certainly lend my support in that regard. And so while that is a misgiving with regard to what we experience and recognize by way of our history and those pieces we try to bring to the forefront of the world today, you have coined the term or the phrase "a true American Jubilee." That was one of your quotes, and I
That's
thought
nice.
that was very fitting because you made mention that, well, Independence Day, July 4th, is recognized as Freedom Day for America. You stated that at that time of independence, at least 30%, if I'm correct,
30%.
of
Yes.
our citizens were still enslaved. And
Yes.
so it wasn't until Juneteenth that we really, as all Americans, black, white, and in between, enjoy any semblance of freedom, because you see, none of us are free until all of us are free.
There you
So
go.
true.
Yeah.
So true.
Uh,
So true.
Julia, do you have a website for your organization?
Yeah, we have a website. Our website right now is having some problems, but I'm gonna tell you what it is. It's
Okay.
TabbyMLK at dot gmail. It's TabbyMLK.org. That's what it is.
.org. Okay.
Yeah. We also got a Facebook page. You know, Tabby MLK Human Rights Organization. We got a Facebook page. We have that.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
We have that.
They're
fantastic. Yeah.
doing some wonderful work. And again, my whole purpose of bringing you all together tonight was truly to encourage collaboration, and however we can do that. And I know that there will be some crossover, and that it's very difficult to schedule everything at different times so that we are making sure that everybody can participate. But if I could just get 30 minutes to get to the other side of town, that would be that would be good. Because if I don't show up on time at 38th Street Park, known as
Yeah.
Wells Park, Miss Marilyn is
Yeah.
gonna whip me with the wet noodle, and I'm supposed
Well,
to stay
I,
the whole time, right?
yeah, I
But
certainly applaud you trying to put this together, and I hope we can work with that, because and I'm also just very happy that we've got these communities that are getting the word out, and
yeah,
part of, I'm excited to be part of that now, and
yeah,
hopefully we can do some things together. So I will
yeah.
be in touch.
Yeah, I would definitely like that. And so, y'all just gonna sound crazy. So I will have all of y'all numbers and stuff when this is over, right? Meaning y'all have mine, I'll have yours, and we can all talk. That would be
All
I
right.
great.
can certainly connect everybody. And what I want to
Please.
say that there, while we are collective in the spirit of celebration and unity, we also want to be collective where cooperative economics is concerned. And so what we want to do is turn this into a powerful economic generator for African American businesses in all of our communities. I know we only have one African American owned restaurant at Tybee. I'm not sure how we're doing in Pooler, but I know we're not doing all that well here in Savannah. But what we have done with the Kwanzaa Crawl is to, in addition to bringing into focus the principles of Kwanzaa, we incorporated a mechanism by which we drove individuals to these local businesses and helped them to generate income. And nothing did my heart more good this past year than to hear restaurant owners say that I raised more money tonight than I had in a whole quarter or whole month.
Now
Because we
that's a
do have
shame.
some businesses in
Mhm.
Savannah during St. Patrick's Day who appreciate and celebrate the fact that they are able to raise enough money over the St. Patrick's Day weekend
And
to
that's the
generate their revenue
year.
for at least half a year, if not a whole year. So
Mhm.
we
Wow.
just want to share the wealth and spread the wealth around for everyone and create opportunity, because that's what it's all about. And when we talk about these pieces related to freedom, we don't have a right to simply enjoy freedom as free people. As a result of what our ancestors endured and went through, we now have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to help others acquire those same freedoms. And in today's time, that freedom means freedom to economics. It means freedom and access to housing. It means freedom and access to jobs with a high paying with high paying income. And so what do? We share, we invite, we open. And the only way we can achieve this, just like we didn't end slavery without white people, we have to include white people. We did not achieve Juneteenth without white people. We have to include them. And it is only and until then that more of them get it, that our work will be much easier. So it's not so much about forgiving and forgetting as it is forging ahead. We have now the federal holiday, we have the festivals, and we have all of this, jubilation. But we also still have failed policies, relaxed policies, or policies that have not been implemented at all. We still have rises and increases in poverty and crime and homelessness. And we must continue amidst these celebrations, amidst these historical acknowledgments, interject these pieces related to serving those who are of the least of us. And so what does forging ahead look like? What does it look like when people have to forge ahead after a broken marriage? What does it look like after having situations to occur with our children? What does forging ahead looks like when your career fails, when you lose your job? What does forging ahead looks like when we have church hurt or health crises or financial crises? So we as a community and as those who have any semblance of freedom, whether it's in our mind or in our hearts, we have a responsibility as leaders to pay it forward. And sometimes paying it forward just means holding us accountable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree.
That's true.
Yep.
And so I'm going to let Mr. Ivan Cohen, who is never lost for words, and while I said he's never lost for words, I want to let him have parting words. But before then, I want to remind everyone that tomorrow is Election Day. Our greatest freedom is freedom to vote, to exercise our right to vote. So many people lost their lives for us to have this freedom as African Americans, as women even. So we want everyone to know that tomorrow is Election Day for the runoffs. People are not expecting you to go back out and vote, but we want you to show them that Chatham County counts. And with that, Mr. Cohen, I want you to give us the last words, and I promise to connect all of you all together.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Last words I will give my own candidate, Gibson Carter, is that word, Kesha. You heard her say Kwanzaa Claus. One can say that the work she does truly speaks for her. And I'll be getting up in the morning to go walk down the street and cast my vote. But I will say this, Savannah, Tybee, Pula, we have, it's recognized as a holiday, Juneteenth, in our municipalities. Thing about it is getting those people up in Atlanta to go dome, getting them on board now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir,
That's
for
true.
sure. But we are happy that our local government has recognized it and gave all of our staff, city staff, the day off. And so a paid day off. So we intend to go forth and we'll certainly lobby and petition our senators and our state representatives to do the same under that Gold Dome in Atlanta. But listen, I promised I wasn't going to keep you all long. I can talk to you all night because it's been a little bit of a love fest. I need to have you all on speed dial. See, that's what you do when people try to get you down, just create your own cheering squad. Listen, Savannah, you can't give up because I'm not. We're in it to win it, and we are going to go forth in the spirit of unity and community. I love you so much, Savannah, and good night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
to it.